Today's final topic is about mismatch between supply and demand. We already said the goal of supply chain management is to maximize efficiency driven value and responsiveness driven value at the same time. That's somehow very closely related with minimizing the mismatch between supply and demand. So we want to understand why and under what circumstances such mismatch occurs. This is again supply chain system here, and then the market demands, the customers demand, and then supply chain system supplies. And if there is a lot of balance between supply and demand, we say that balanced supply and demand relationship or match occurs. On the other hand, if supply is larger than demand, we call that as overstocking. And if supply is less than demand, that's understocking. And either case is the mismatch between supply and demand. Why mismatch occurs? There are lots of reasons under which such a mismatch occurs. Whatever happens, overstocking or understocking involves cost, lots of cost. For instance, what are the overstocking costs? In other words, if you produce more than actually demanded in the market, you probably have to pay inventory holding cost, maybe obsolescence cost, and waste occurs, and obsolescence occurs, and we can think about lots of cost. What about this understocking cost? In other words, if we don't make enough to satisfy the market demand, that's understocking cost. We lose our current sales, but that's not the end of the story. Customers come to our store and they find that what they want is not there. Then they will go to another company. They will go to my competitor, and maybe they will not come back again. They will not come back to me again. That's loyalty loss. Okay, so overstocking, understocking, both are problems of inventory problems, overstocking, understocking. We have to avoid both overstocking and understocking at the same time. And both actually involve lots of costs as well. We want to ask, why then this mismatch occurs? Externally, maybe the customer's requirements or customer's needs changes, or simply there is too much uncertainty out there. So that's external reasons. Internal reasons, the company's inability to gather more accurate demand information, and therefore the company cannot plan properly. Or sometimes the company is unable to plan schedule better with the given forecasting, with the given information. The company cannot plan a schedule more effectively. That's the fault on the company. Or that is inability to develop new product valued by the customers at the right time. In other words, the customer's needs and customer requirements changed a lot, but the company is not able to develop a new product that meet or that satisfy the changing customer needs. There are also some other environmental reasons why this mismatch occurs. Too much technological change and technological innovation, hyper competition in the market. Because of the competition, uncertainty intensifies, and also there are some macroeconomic forces as well. So a key supply chain management goal, or let's say it is a sort of action strategy or action item, is to minimize the mismatch. How? Effective coordination. So in order to minimize the mismatch, coordination is also needed, right? So external reasons, in order to cope with this, you gotta do external coordination. In order to overcome this inability inside the company, we better do internal coordination. And there is environmental. There is environmental issues as well. Again, this involves our coordination as well. Basically, uncertainty is also one of such core reasons why we have to face these mismatch issues. But there are two different types of uncertainty. At least these two types of uncertainties are the most relevant to our discussion in supply chain management. There is uncertainty which is at the aggregate level. So we call that as aggregate level uncertainty. In other words, how many passenger cars will be able to sell in 2015? How many cars? How many passenger cars? Let's say we will be able to sell 2 million passenger cars. That's aggregate level forecasting. That's combining all these different product types of product lines. Passenger cars, that's a big category, right? And aggregate level uncertainty is relatively easy to deal with. In other words, we can make forecasting relatively easily or relatively effectively regarding this aggregate level uncertainty, because we just need some of these macroeconomic variables. We use some econometrics approaches and methodologies. But if there is consistent difference between aggregate level demand and aggregate level supply, then we have to, for example, if aggregate demand is very, very large than aggregate supply, that means that we have to adjust our capacity, increase our capacity, or we defocus on the target market. On the other hand, if aggregate demand is much, much smaller than aggregate supply, then again we need to reduce our capacity. We need to adjust our capacity, and we probably need to work harder to generate market demand, or new product development or quality improvement. So aggregate level demand is relatively easy as long as we are able to do forecasting using macroeconomic variables. How many passenger cars we will be able to sell next year? We have to look at these income levels, we have to look at population levels, we have to look at the interest rate, we have to look at exchange rate, and disposable incomes, age groups, and employment rate, and so on and so forth. So those are the macroeconomic variables. So it's relatively easy to deal with aggregate level uncertainty. But if there is a consistent difference between aggregate level demand and aggregate level supply, then this is the issue we have to deal with by adjusting capacity. It's not an issue of forecasting. Now, let's say that we believe that we're going to be able to sell 2 million cars next year. Passenger cars. Let's say it's Hyundai Motors problem. then the question is, out of this 2 million, how much is Sonata we will be able to sell? How much is small car Avante we will be able to sell? Or how much USB SUV, right? Sports utility vehicle we will be able to sell. We gotta decide this one. This is the product mix level uncertainty, which is much harder. We'll be able to sell, 500,000 units of a ski park next season. That's aggregate level uncertainty, which is relatively easy to deal with as long as we gather some of these relevant macroeconomic variables. But the question is, which style we will be able to sell out of these 500,000 units? How about the colors? How about the style? How about the size? That's more difficult issues. So devil is at the product mix level. So in order to deal with this product mix level uncertainty, responsiveness is the key. Responsiveness is the key. Why? Because we assume that the demand and supply roughly balanced at the aggregate level, and therefore now we gotta have flexibility to mobilize our capacity to satisfy this changing mix of customer requirements in the market. So under that circumstances, the value of flexibility is very high, and the supply chain coordination becomes more valuable. So how to incorporate this risk when we do this production planning, and how we do this, how we implement this delaying strategy and delaying tactic, and so on and so forth. What are the more specific forecasting methods? If we have abundant data, if we have many data points, then we can use quantitative method, regression analysis and time series analysis. If we don't have enough data and few data available, then we gotta use qualitative method, judgmental, market research, and expert opinion, and so on and so forth. So product mix level uncertainty becomes a big issue only when demand is roughly equivalent to supply at the aggregate level. Then product mix level uncertainty becomes important, and we have to deal with, we have to be able to provide responsiveness and flexibility. So we needed to utilize more sophisticated coordination tools. Right? So I think that next lecture we probably talk about some of these more specific supply chain coordination tools or mechanisms in order to enhance the firm's supply chain performance. Okay, today's lecture is a very important lecture. It is somehow based on all these previous lectures, and at the same time it gives us a very clear direction for our continuing discussion on supply chain management. And I hope that now you have more specific knowledge, more specific understanding about this supply chain management. And I think that for the remaining lectures we will get into deeper level of discussion in supply chain management, and how to maximize, how to optimize this efficiency driven value and responsiveness driven value at the same time. I want to see you all very soon.